Hey guys, Moose here. We are back with another episode of Stonehearth in our Rise Children playthrough. Been having some issues recording here, hoping it was just something I needed a reboot to solve, and it appears to be the case so far. Things are going smoothly, but the game was chugging like a frat kid in college, I guess, let's say that. It looks like it might be doing it again. Not happy about this. I think it might have to do with the bitrate being higher since I didn't have this issue previously, but I don't know. I'll have to look into it. So we're getting invaded. Just wolves. No. Big group. Alright. So there shouldn't be too many people coming over here except for craftsmen, so I don't really want to lose the craftsmen because they have levels, so let's get them out of there. And send our military after the wolves there. No, they moved quickly. That one's toast, but the other ones are gonna... Really? You're just gonna break all the doors? I really fucking hate that they break doors. Like, I get it, they need to be able to get through doors without it just saying, nope, you can't go there, but... It's real annoying. It's the same issue, like, you might have with creepers in Minecraft, but Minecraft, everything is placed, like, it's much more manual, so it's not as big of a deal, I feel. In Minecraft, it gives more weight to your creations, but here, because there's less creativity involved, I feel, because you're not going block by block, it doesn't really do that as much. It's mostly just annoying. But I understand why it's kind of a necessary part of the game, and I'm sort of fine with it. I just feel like complaining right now, because I'm whiny. But, I've been focusing, like, I've kind of always wanted to, maybe not always, but I've considered repeatedly that I might enjoy writing a horror story, and writing, I don't know if I've talked about this before, writing kind of runs in my family a little bit, which I'll probably talk more about some other time, but nope, that's why nothing's happening. I was a little bit confused there for a moment, but it was my own idiocy that I was confused by, so I'm not going to complain about that. We should probably check out our crafters here while I talk. But yeah, I've always kind of, like, I cannot stand horror. I will never go watch a horror movie. You know, books, not really. Horror mystery, nothing like that I'm really into. Games, either. Like, nothing visual really works for me. And I don't enjoy horror. I don't like being scared. It, you know, it sucks. I really don't like it. But I like the idea of content, or I like creating content that elicits the emotion of fear. And I guess, I don't know why that is. I genuinely have no idea why that is. It's very strange to me, considering that it's something that I fundamentally cannot enjoy, don't enjoy, and yet it's something that I'd like to create. And I've been thinking about this because I've been looking at Darkest Dungeon and kind of figuring out, alright, well, Darkest Dungeon isn't a horror game, but it draws from horror themes. Mainly kind of Cthulhu stuff, which is, yeah, everyone's all about Cthulhu now, even though probably almost none of the people who, like, say Cthulhu or talk about Cthulhu have ever read any of H.P. Lovecraft's writing, which is amazing, and something that I haven't read it in a while. I read, like, 7 or 8 of the short stories and loved pretty much every single one of them. The imagery is just unbelievable, and if you've never read it before, I highly recommend it. They're fantastic, and even though they're horror books, you know, they're horror stories, short stories, I guess, they're not really books mostly, they should really be taught in school, I feel. Like at a, you know, high school senior, high school freshman, or not freshman, junior. Are we getting invaded again? What was that? I just hit escape and it disappeared. I didn't mean to do that. Alright, whatever. But yeah, I get why it wouldn't be taught in schools. The horror aspect, definitely, I understand that. But at the same time, it's amazing. Like, the writing is such that it deserves exposure. And I feel like it kind of gets relegated to people that specifically look for it because it's not new, so people aren't talking about it as much, and also it's not taught, really. Maybe it's because I didn't get into, you know, literature and English language courses in college or anything, and maybe that's why I think that it's unpopular, but I don't know. I feel like it should be taught outside of people who are specifically pursuing literature as a major or minor, whatever. It should be a more general thing. Okay, how many of these do I want to make? We got 200, so I can make 66. So I'd like to do 20 and 20. I don't think we have 2 chefs, but I'll just split it just in case. I have that Murray. I want more wheat. Let's go like 30. I have 30 left over. And I think we'll leave it there for now. I think that's plenty of work for the chef. But yeah, I'm not putting Darkest Dungeon forward as a horror game, because it's not a horror game. It's ridiculous to suggest that it is. It's not at all a horror game. This guy's just gonna go poof soon, isn't he? Yearns for a life of comfort. Like, honestly, if you wanted to join my town, that would be okay. I don't have a problem with that. No, he's gonna get murdered. Okay. Fine in my book. In fact, I'm gonna go kill his camp here, because the military in this campaign still listens to my orders, so they'll do it. So, but yeah, Darkest Dungeon definitely isn't a horror game. I'm not suggesting that it is, but it clearly takes on themes from horror games, and it got me thinking about that kind of writing again and those kinds of stories again, which I feel are much more interesting than what horror is in the modern day, which is pretty much just, oh hey, jump scares work, so fuck it, we'll do nothing but jump scares. Which is stupid and boring in my opinion. So, or not boring, it scares me, but I don't feel any value. Like, to me, it's horror. You can go one of two ways with horror. You can go for horror or terror, or you can go for terror or fear. And I don't think that jump scares are terror. Jump scares are just, you're scared for a moment, and you know, your heart stops for a second. And that, it's, you could call it terrifying. Maybe I'm being pedantic and using words incorrectly here, but you get what I mean, right? They're kind of different things, and I don't really see the value of jump scares. I think they're lazy, I think they're uninspired, and very boring. And if I'm gonna be in for something like that, I really prefer kind of the existential dread and horror and terror that is something like Lovecraft, which is beautifully atmospheric and sort of the slow plodding fear rather than, you know, jump scares and that kind of shit. Okay, so do I want to... I think I do. Less sleepy, move faster, boost stamina. I don't understand the difference between these two things. Genuinely. One's bigger and costs more to make, so we'll start with like 20 of that, and that'll be 100, and then we'll have whatever left. That should be fine. We'll get more, whatchamacallit, we'll get more healing herbs that we'll deal with later. Make like 10 of these. Just replace those gates, just so that they have something to break and stall them when they come next time. Because I'd rather they break these than the actual doors, so that's fine. But yeah, like, it'd be, I think it's a... I think usually when people write, and this maybe is a difference between... Don't ask why I was moving that back and forth, I needed it to be a square even though I didn't get it right. I needed it closer to a square. Because I wasn't really focusing on the task, I was focusing on talking. But, maybe this is the difference between, like, a really good author and just, you know, someone who can write in English. Or whatever language. Someone who can write and someone who is a legitimate, like, quality author. Maybe that's the difference that I'm talking about here. And what I'm referring to is basically someone who writes to tell a story and someone who writes to evoke an emotion. And I think that's a really shitty way of saying it, so let me think about that later. But what I'm trying to get at is you can have an idea for a story, and sometimes it's good, and you can make a good story that way, but I feel like a lot of the time it's not really... Oh shit. I really wish they'd just stop invading. I guess he went poof. I'm not sure how to explain it. Like, I read... Okay, so one of the book series that I really liked as a kid was Redwall. And that was great. They were great books. I really enjoyed them. I think it's Brian Jacques was great. I loved his writing. Or I loved the stories. The writing was whatever. It's English. There wasn't really anything special about it. So maybe that was worse. I'm not sure. But I feel like... I'm gonna build some houses here. I feel like the more memorable and impactful books for me are the ones that evoke an emotion. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. So, of those, to me, the most interesting one is Terror. For some reason, and I don't know why that is. God, I wish these guys would just fuck off. My military already? Yeah, they're getting in there. Could you guys please run home? There you go. Alright, I think we're good. They're not gonna die. That's fine. But yeah, like... I really want a book to make me happy. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know that I see the appeal of that. I don't really see the appeal of a book making me sad either. Like, that doesn't interest me really. Or feeling, you know... feeling love when reading a book doesn't even make sense to me. I can't, like, that makes no sense. Like, would that be like falling in love with one of the characters? Yeah, I kind of don't get that, I guess. So then... Is there still another healer alive? Thought we got both of them. What the hell? Okay, whatever. We're killing them, I'm just gonna let it happen. I don't know what the hell was going on there. But anyway, like, going through the emotions, like, having a book make me angry doesn't make any sense. Like, that's just weird. I mean, not weird, but it, like, I don't know why I would want that. But this kind of lines up nicely. I guess we'll keep this. I'll build this one too. And then we will extend the road. So yeah, anger doesn't make sense. Really the only thing that's like interesting to me from a book, it's either terror, which to me has to be a particular brand of it, which is basically just H.P. Lovecraft, which if you don't know, I'll talk about it in a minute, or just like generic enjoyment. And that's more like a fantasy book, like the Pern series was real good, Isaac Asimov, like anything is really good. Like I said, Redwall was something I enjoyed as a kid, that kind of thing. It's not that interesting. It's good, but it's like, I'm not really feeling an emotion over it. It's just kind of like, alright, well this is a book and I'm reading it and it's fun. It's like playing, it's like the difference between playing, let me put this in terms of video games. Let's see, what have I played that's good emotionally? I shouldn't go down this road because for me that's like fucking Ace Combat 4, which probably makes no sense to anyone else, and I do not blame you. I don't know why that game made me emotional. They sing, they're like, you're playing as a fighter pilot, and it's like an arcadey jet fighter game, and at one point they like sing the national anthem of their country that you're fighting to liberate, since you guys were losing the war when the game starts, and I don't know. I don't understand why, but that game actually makes me mildly emotional. So that's a shitty example. What's a much better one? A game where you kind of get attached to the characters, and yeah, I guess the emotional impact of a game like The Witcher. That would be the one that I'd say. Witcher 3, specifically with Ciri. You know, if you get emotionally attached to Ciri and you're like, look, this is my daughter, I need to protect her, and you put yourself in the role of the main character, Geralt, fuck off. You know, I get it. That's kind of the emotional impact, and it's the difference in writing that I'm talking about is the difference between that, where you're emotionally connected to what's going on in the characters, and a game like... It's a game with story that... Actually, FF15 I kind of got emotionally invested in as well. It's just they fucking ruined it in the second half of the game. which I will not spoil, but I hated the second half of FF15. It felt like a rushed clusterfuck of a story that didn't make any goddamn sense, but whatever. Or, no, it made sense. It was just a wild departure from what the game was previously to me. But anyway, without going too far down that road, because again, it's a pretty new game, I don't want to spoil anything. But, trying to think of a good one. What's a good game with a story where I didn't get emotionally connected at all? And there wasn't like a good reason to get By the way, Tales of Symphonia was another good example of an emotional game. I played that on GameCube, it was quite good. What popped up? Was someone low on health? That's concerning. I don't think they were. Alright, do we have a cleric over here? Yeah, we have two. Okay, we're fine. I don't think there's any concern here. We'll just murder these wolves and move on. Looks like we're done. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know, like Devil May Cry. But even Devil May Cry had like some good elements for that. Geez, what is there? A game with story that I didn't get emotionally connected at all. Zelda. At no point, Zelda's like not an emotional game. It has story, and your actions are directly motivated by the story, and blah 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 blah, but there's no like emotional stuff. And you could argue some of them have it a little bit, but it's clearly not like a focus of the game. So like a typical book that you would just read for entertainment, to me, is like Zelda. A Zelda game, where it's, yeah, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not getting any emotional benefit from it, or emotional feeling from it. Response, I guess, is the word I was looking for. Whereas something like H.P. Lovecraft, which I'm only harping on because that's the only example I have, really, is more like it makes you feel something, which is what, for example, The Witcher 3 did. So, and I think, you know, you could say that The Witcher 3 makes you feel kind of like love for Ciri, because, you know, it's like, oh, it's my daughter, I'm going to take care of her and make sure she's okay. I get that, and I agree with you. The reason I don't think that works in books is because books are non-interactive. And you could say, oh, well, what about Choose Your Own Adventure? But come on, like, really? Not, like, that's not a good example. But what was I thinking of here? Yeah, so with H.P. Lovecraft, it's not really, like, it doesn't act like it's trying to scare you. It doesn't, like, layer... You don't get the feeling that the author is trying to build it up and make it scary. You get the feeling that the words that the characters are saying and the things that they're describing are what terrify you. And because you can kind of put yourself in that moment and think of it like something that's happening and being described. And also, by the way, not going too into detail, and this is something Amnesia did, not letting you see the monster, blurring your vision and making it so you can't really see it. That's a great mechanic. Humans fear the unknown. That's a fantastic way to handle that. And it's obviously a very good game, and that would be the equivalent of like an H.P. Lovecraft book. So that's great. I think that was very well done, and maybe you could argue they got kind of bad as it went on. But I can't even get past the first like 10 minutes of any of those games because I'm a total pussy. And I have no shame about that. That's who I am, and that's always who I'm gonna be, so whatever. Maybe eventually I'll sell out enough that I'll do a stream where I'm sitting there pissing my pants and screaming every time something happens. I'm not really a screamer. I'd just be terrified. Quietly terrified. But anyway, that sort of atmospheric horror is really much more what would be good to... This is actually a decent trade, but we don't need gold. Much better, you know, and that's kind of what I'm talking about when I say I think something that elicits emotion, an emotional response, is much more meaningful than something that doesn't. Even though both have value. And they both do have value, you know. Zelda's a good series, I enjoy those games, but it's not something I go to for feeling something, you know. But yeah, so I kind of want to write something like that. I feel like that would be fun to do. Like, and probably, I don't think I could write a book currently. I feel like writing a game would be easier because you have less words to work with. And I feel like that's a better situation for me to be in. So, it's something, you know, hopefully I'll get that opportunity at some point. Is this guy? Yeah, he's getting healed, okay. Oh, they have healers. I'm stupid. What am I doing? Kill the fucking healers. I don't think I've ever seen them attack the healers first. It's like they're programmed not to. And that seems like it's fine to say don't program to do things efficiently. That's why you have the player doing things, but at least have them not deliberately avoid doing the intelligent thing. But yeah, so writing a game like that, probably something along the lines of, I mean, Darkest Dungeon is a really good setting. I think it'd be a horror game if if it was a different game, it would be a horror game. If it was a different game with the same setting, it would be a horror game. But because it's a turn-based RPG, it doesn't, like, how are you going to be afraid of a turn-based RPG? It doesn't matter how horrifying the monsters are. You're just not going to be afraid of it. So yeah, having that really, like, and again, if you haven't read H.P. Lovecraft, I highly recommend picking up, reading, just go to a library and pick up any short story. I particularly liked, I don't know if I don't really know the titles of them that well, but the one with the rats on the walls, and that might actually be the name of the story, Rats on the Walls. There was, it was like The Thing Out of Space or something like that. That one's really good. Some of them don't even really have monsters, they're just horrifying. Those are great. The ones with monsters are a little bit less enjoyable to me, because they're kind of takes the fun out of it. I think the fun is, like, you don't know what the hell's going on. And if it's a monster, it's like, okay, well, there's a monster. If you kill the monster, you're fine. And one of them had, like, a couple professors coming after one of the monsters. And that to me is like, okay, well, now it's a conflict. I want it to be an unknowable horror that you cannot quantify or comprehend. And I think that's a much more compelling horror story, so that's more what I'm looking for. Mountains of Madness, of course, is fantastic. That's probably one of my favorites, but I think I like the Rats on the Walls ones a little bit more. Which probably isn't the name, but it could be. So I'm sure if you're interested in looking into it, based on what I've said, you could figure it out. So, like, it opens with a guy's in, like, an old estate, and this is actually might be the one that Darkest Dungeon is sort of, like, not based on, but inspired by, I guess would be the right way of putting it. Like, he starts out, the beginning of the story is he's in a manor, and when he goes to sleep in his bed, he can hear, like, hordes and hordes of rats running through the walls. And eventually he follows the sound of where the rats are going, and he finds something. And I won't spoil it any further than that, but it's a really good story. I enjoyed it a great deal. And it's not even about how you get from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. It's about the description and what occurs. Not really what occurs, but I guess really just the description and the atmosphere of how what happens. It's more about the context than it is about what's actually going on. And I feel like that's always been how I enjoy H.P. Lovecraft, personally. So, anyway, enough of me talking about horror. I hope you enjoy it if you go read it, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. Let me know if you have any thoughts on good horror akin to H.P. Lovecraft. Ideally something, the problem is once you've kind of gone down that road, you've read his stuff, I have very little patience for anything that's worse than that. And of course, everything is worse than that. How could it not be? I'm sure there's some stuff that's better, but yeah. Probably very few. He's just so good at descriptive horror, I guess. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully one day I'll get an opportunity to take a crack at that kind of writing and deliver something quality if I can, but probably not. I'm not as good as him. I never will be, and that's fine. I just want to, for my own entertainment, I guess, see what I can do. So, like I said, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you join us for the next one as well. Take care.